Welcome, everybody, to podcast episode number 457. Today, we're going to talk about team development. We're with O'Shea Builders here again with Tess Fyalka and Josh Frye with O'Shea Builders. Like I said, stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. You are in for a treat today. So I would like to ask Tess and Josh to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into the topic here. So Tess, would you go ahead and kick us off and get started? Give us a little introduction.
Sure. Jason, first, thanks so much for having us on. We're super excited to be here with you today and on your podcast. So just a little bit about me. I'm Director of Employee Development and Engagement for O'Shea Builders. And I've been with the company for about 7.5 years. And in that role, I have the privilege and the pleasure of working with the amazing O'Shea team, a wonderful bunch of people. And my role is to help each in some small way become a better version of themselves, to help them develop and to grow. And before I joined O'Shea, I spent 14 years as an independent consultant. And in that role, I worked for a management consulting company. And I developed my passion for training and development, and particularly leadership development.
That's fantastic. And I remember, just to anchor the audience back before we get to Josh, that if you have these departments, and they're not siloed at O'Shea, so I want to make that clear. They're functioning groups, really healthy teams. But if you look at them in vertical columns, the way Tyler had explained it is that there are people dedicated horizontally across all of those groups to elevating everybody in their role. That was the image that I got. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Josh and I work with the entire organization to support the organization in their development.
I love that. Okay, Josh, let's kick it over to you.
Hi, Jason. Wow. Episode 457. Who knew this was going to be such a big treat? My name is Joshua Frye. I go by Josh. I am the Assistant Director of Employee Development and Engagement at O'Shea. I work alongside with Tess to support the entire organization in building capabilities to achieve our strategic dreams. I came to O'Shea after serving for many years in healthcare, both public and private healthcare sectors, on the IT side, on the training side, and that supports my background in organization behavior. And so at O'Shea, I do a lot of HR types of activities, from hiring and recruiting to training, and of course the big bad COVID processes that we have to watch over now has been something I've been able to take care of. But the best part of my job comes when I'm doing things with change management, employee engagement, team building, and process improvement. And so those are the things that really blow my hair back, that I really enjoy. I really enjoy getting involved in at O'Shea.
Well, that's fantastic. So I like to get a little bit of connection as we head into this. So, and it doesn't have to be long, however long you want it to be, but we'll go backwards if that's okay. So Josh, I'll put you on the spot and then Tess. What's the most exciting thing or the fun thing happening in your life? And it can be small, it can be big, but
gosh. I hate to steal Tyler's idea. He's got a very active family. I have an incredibly active family, and there's probably there's no greater joy we get to share within my household than all the kids and their activities. We're a big soccer household, so we play a lot of soccer all across the United States. And that's fun. So much fun. I can't believe I get to enjoy it with my kids. So I would have to say any of their activities, especially soccer. I've got one that's dipping his toe into theater right now and doing some singing, which is new for us. So that's a little strange. But it's fun too, because he really loves it. And who doesn't love being a part of things your kids love? So that's got to be my best.
fantastic. Awesome.
So yeah, I'm coming off a really fun and exciting weekend in Chicago with my daughter, where we went up there to celebrate my birthday, which was fantastic. And coming off of also our Chrisgiving, family Chrisgiving. And so we combined Christmas and Thanksgiving recently and hosted that at my house. And my son was in from Denver, and I had all of my family here, my siblings and all of my nieces. And and great nephew and nieces. And so that was spectacular because it's the first time, within a big family that we've been all under one roof for a holiday. So really cool family things, right?
I think that is. So I think I had this wrong. I had started calling Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas first Christmas, second Christmas, and third Christmas, but I think Chrisgiving is probably more clever. So I think that's
Yes,
cool.
our combination.
Well, that's fantastic. So let me do a little bit of an introduction, and then I want to put you on the spot and ask you a question. So I do a lot of bragging about O'Shea everywhere I go. I've made no secret about the fact that I'm a huge fan of the organization, even down to the way the building looks, the cleanliness, the graphics, the feel, the culture, the joking. I mean, if, I'll tell a little story on Tyler for anybody listening. That one time, Zach, one of the senior superintendents, didn't invite him camping, and we teased each other relentlessly over a period of months that Tyler never got an invitation out camping. And so they're just fun, good, great people, great company. So to put that into perspective from a results standpoint, last time we talked with Harry and Tyler about the results and how the gross revenue has increased considerably. The team satisfaction scores have increased. You've recently won an award for training and what you've been doing in team development. I mean, things are just going off the charts for y'all. And this company has been able to implement, I would say, every concept that you preach, whether it's from Jim Collins or your previous consulting career or wherever they come. And they've implemented last planner system, tax planning, operational control, respect for people, excellent project development techniques. And so the company's just on fire. And so Harry, I'll be quick with this. Harry last time and Tyler said, it really came from focusing on leadership and team development. And they gave a huge shout out to the both of you. And they closed with the challenge that it really comes down to putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to respect for people. So let me put you on the spot. What are you all doing over there to have supported this great effort and to be achieving these results? Because other companies are curious and want to learn from your experience.
Sure. And just for your listeners, Jason, Harry Schmidt is our Director of Business Strategies, and Tyler Cormany is our Vice President. And so, we all refer to them as just, Tyler and Harry because we know them so well, and they're, very dear people and smart people. And so from our perspective, the respect for people really, it starts with a commitment from leadership, right? In terms of if training and development isn't part of your strategic priorities, part of your strategic objectives, it's going to be really difficult to have a real holistic and truly impactful, impact on the organization and leading the organization through change and integrating all of these things that we are trying to do. And so I like to say that training and development isn't something that O'Shea does. It's really who we are as an organization. And so over the years, we have created an infrastructure that is designed to support people in terms of how we bring them in the organization, on board, recruitment, starting with recruitment, and what our selection process is there. And the whole hiring process is really very deliberate. And I don't know that there's anything necessarily special about it, right? I mean, I'm sure there are many, many companies out there that are doing, things much like what we're doing and even more. And what we're doing has worked very well for us in terms of, getting the right people on the bus, right? And selecting the right people. And through that recruitment process, and Josh can speak more to this, but again, being very selective about who we are inviting into the organization and ensure that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities and a cultural fit and a cultural complement, if you will. And so the recruiting process and then the hiring process, the interview process is they don't just meet with the function area leader or the team leader, if you will. They're going to meet with not only that person, but probably the whole team. And then as we onboard them, we're going to onboard them give them a program that is tailored specifically for that particular job. Okay. So it can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 12 months. And as I said, it's tailored to the specific job, and it's designed to, of course, introduce them to the O'Shea systems and processes and things like that. But more importantly, we want to integrate them into the culture of O'Shea. And when folks come into the organization, I like to say that, this is very much a culture of respect and sincere appreciation. And we genuinely try to set people up for success, right? Because their success is our success. And so putting them, setting up, structuring an onboarding program so that they can better understand the systems. We know that it's going to take time to really learn them, right? It takes experience in that, but we want to give them an introduction to the tools and then also help them build relationships. So as I said, it speaks to our culture in terms of how can we make sure that these folks are truly excited to be a part of the O'Shea team. And they feel like they're a part of the O'Shea family very, very early on because they're building these relationships and integrating into the organization. And I'm going to take a pause there because I'm doing a lot of talking and I want to give Josh a chance to chime in.
Tess, you outlined it very well. Excuse me. It does start with the first impression. We want to approach people who want to be a part of our organization and how we do things. And that's where that recruitment and selection piece comes in. Once we get the right people on the bus, if we're still talking about in Collins language and going from good to great, once we get the right people on the bus, which we truly believe in, then we know that we can accomplish and achieve all the things that we set out in front of us. And we've been very blessed to attract really great people, and we have a team that is really capable of doing so many things. And Jason, you've been very helpful in shaping what that team can and should be able to do out in the field. And it's been a really wonderful partnership there. So getting the right people on the bus is a huge, huge factor. And then from there, because we're so passionate about training, so passionate about learning and growth and development, that journey never ends for anybody. Whether it's people like Tess and I, who are learning people ourselves, we're always growing and learning. And that's how we try to stay sharp and stay on the cutting edge of what's out there in the industry and what is needed in business today. But Harry and Tyler, they're also in learning and they're growing and they're developing. And so that's really, really a great thing when you have your leaders learning, but then when the leaders are also teachers, that's that part of that culture that Tess was talking about. That is really ideal for a place like O'Shea that really wants to continuously turn the wheel and continuously be better every day.
Mm-hmm. And along those same lines, Josh, just to riff off of what you said, the beyond the four of us, you and me and Harry and Tyler, Mike O'Shea also, our president, he will create a program to train members of the team, and the subject matter experts that are part of the onboarding program, they're engaged in teaching and learning it as well. And so we are truly a culture of learning and growing and respect for people.
I like that. And applying that to construction, you're a construction company. I should have made clear. So O'Shea Builders, they're a construction company. So applying that to the construction audience is what I wanted to say. We talk a lot about intentional recruitment, hiring, and training. And I this isn't a criticism. It's just an observation in the industry, right? A lot of times we hire, not at O'Shea, but in other areas of the industry, hire based on need after the fact. And that's very much something that you have in the reverse. You recruit, train, or hire, train, and develop people, and then they have the capacity to go build more work. So I think that's one thing that I'm really hearing from you. The other thing that I hear a lot, and this is very, very unfortunate, is we're not here to make friends kind of a comment. Hey, you're here to do a job. And I really do think that's probably going away. It's more of an old school mentality. But I mean, think about what Tess just said for all the leaders and Josh. is that we help them to develop relationships. Like that was something that really queued up in my mind and that I picked up on. If a company develops those relationships and helps you, you can't help but feel connection and feel relevant in the company. And then one last comment. I teach that superintendents won't have a clean job unless they're willing to pick up trash themselves, meaning that as they're going around, they should have their left glove on or whichever hand or whatever. And if they see something, pick it up. And that example will do more. And I had never applied it like you just did to leadership and training. And when you were saying that, my mind went back to Tyler and the other leaders, Harry, Mike, will send me texts just like they do you. Here's a cool, neat book. Here's an article I just read. Hey, what about this? Any good? It's just who they are. And that, to your point, because you all do that, it's spread through the organization. So I'm going to start saying now, hey, if you want to create a learning organization, you have to be a fanatical learner all the way from the top. So great points.
Yeah. And it really is. And I think we attract people who love to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much a learning mindset. And, I don't know that we refer to ourselves as being agile, but, if you think about an organization that is trying something out and then, okay, what's working and what isn't, we're doing that all the time. And again, we are by no means perfect. So, I mean, Josh and I can get really passionate about this because, we love the organization, we love what we do. And, and we've been around the planet long enough where we can really appreciate what O'Shea does bring to the table and also want to acknowledge that we're learning and growing and every single day. And, we trip up, just like anybody else does, just like any other organization.
I love that.
You're right. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, Jason, but you guys are saying so many great things. I think we could go on for hours. This would be the longest podcast you've ever done, Jason, if you let us just go. But Tess is right. I mean, we're making mistakes all the time and every single day. And I think what allows us to move forward is that idea of continuous improvement. A learning organization is using feedback and using it well and being intentional about being better tomorrow. And we do that with a fever here. We do that with incredible amounts of passion. And so that's what allows us to, I think, allows us to springboard forward, is that understanding that we're going to learn from this all the time.
Yeah. And I think it's a really genuine commitment to the concept of psychological safety. Yeah. In terms of, okay, giving folks the opportunity to come forward and say, hey, this isn't working right, or this isn't landing right, and offer ways in which it can be improved. And really just the culture being one in which, all right, how can we improve it? And also the true concept of Kaizen in terms of the respect for the nature of people and their continuous improvement, and how important those words are there in the nature of people and their continuous improvement. And that really speaks to how are we helping the individuals so that they can really step into their full potential and what they're really capable of being. And when you create that kind of environment, then, people want to work hard and they're invested and they have a purpose and they have, an equal passion about what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. They can connect to the vision and what's really important.
I love that. And I don't want to cut off any good content because we can take as long as we want. But I really would like to ask, signpost this here in just a minute, to put you on the spot and say, people are listening, they're bought in. They really want to make a change for the better, or they want to learn from this experience where you all are so generous in sharing. What could be some challenges or some implementable things? There is one thing that you just said, though, is the nature of people. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if we could just dive in just a little bit deeper into the word nature and how, because I've connected with it, but I don't yet understand exactly what you mean by it. And so I'm really, really curious right now. When we talk about respect for people, I'm assuming that the respect for the nature of people is that we assume that they're good intentions. They have all the, anyway, I don't want to steal your thunder, but could you dive just a little bit deeper on the nature word there?
So, Jason, for me, the way I interpret that is that respecting the nature of people is this recognition that every single individual is different and they bring a different perspective to the job and to the workplace. And there isn't any one right way. And it is the collection of the whole that really contributes to the success of the whole. And being able to not expect that people are going to fit into one tiny little mold, right? But it's well, what is their nature? And how can we help them to tap into their nature, their full potential? That's the way I interpret that particular phrase.
Yes. So it's almost which I've been guilty of in the past. I don't want anybody to think less of me, but I've almost bought into, I respect how I think people should be, but I get to respect how people are and enjoy and bring out the beauty and support them in the unique talents and abilities that they have themselves, and really tap into that instead of some predetermined mold. And I like that. I like that thought a lot. We can all learn from that.
Mhm.
So just real quick, just to riff on that just for a minute,
Mhm.
when as a superintendent, when I'm in a room and there's a really soft-spoken foreman in the room, or there's somebody that's really passionate and can get emotional, or there's a really what we would say crusty foreman that's yelling at me or whatever, instead of automatically fighting back, how can I actually learn how they communicate, learn their passion, be more tolerant, be curious, not tell myself negative stories, and really connect with them where they are? I mean, that's just like a little light bulb there for folks that were in my position. I think that's beautiful advice. Anything you would like to add to that before we go into the challenge? Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing we've learned through trial and error is about what can we do to build the capability of our people to do just that, Jason, to do what you're just talking about. And so, excuse me. And so we have a few things that we see are key pieces of that leadership journey. And some of that understanding comes from understanding change styles and people's natural either propensity to move towards change or their natural affiliation towards the status quo. We have coursework around that. We also talk a lot about behavior and personalities. So helping people understand what do different personalities look like in their outward appearance, so that you can connect with those different types of people. Like you were saying, your example of the very quiet individual on the job team. And then we look at other things based around a lot of work on conversations. We look at conversations and want to be appreciative in all of our conversations and want everybody to be able to sort out the details, get through high stakes situations and move forward into solving problems, connecting and that sort of thing. And so some of the deep dives we get into when we get into building up people and building up leaders, and this goes for everybody in the organization. Everybody O'Shea goes through these types of activities. It's stuff around conversations, it's stuff around emotional intelligence, and it's things around leading through change. And we've found a lot of success using those things, those learnings and the tenets in those that help us out a lot. For our personalities and behavior, we use DISC. Some organizations like MBTI, some organizations like the Predictive Index. Some organizations will use colors. We used to use colors here at O'Shea, but we've evolved into needing something like DISC as opposed to what colors was giving us before. So we've gone from one assessment to the other, and from one tool to the other, because we noticed a need in our organization for something a little different. And that's where those skills are built.
I love that. So if I was listening to the podcast, I'd be like, where's the download the information from O'Shea button somewhere in here? But as you were talking, I was listening, but immediately when that problem went into my mind, how do I get all this data? There's no way, right? But is there a book or a reference or something that you could recommend for change, conversations, and emotional intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
Just something that people could just, even if they want to just dabble in it. So let's start with change. Are there any recommendations you all have for literature or books?
So I'm actually going to start with psychological safety. And probably one of the best books that I've been reading around that is The Fearless Organization by Amy Edmondson. That's an outstanding book. And then around leadership, one of the other outstanding books by Liz Wiseman is Multipliers. That's absolutely excellent. And then emotional intelligence, Susan David, another really, really good book. But then there's a little caution here because I'm a geek about this stuff. And so there are, some of this stuff is a little too deep of a dive. I think for some folks, starting with the Lencioni books is a great place to start because it begins to introduce some of these concepts. And as you know, Jason, because you're a Lencioni fan as well, the Around the Fable, that's a great place for folks to start to begin to, have some exposure. And then, John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Anything, by Maxwell is a great read and core concepts around that. Josh, what do you have to add?
Yes. So anything by Patrick Lencioni is great. We've seen a great amount of traction with the Ideal Team Player. That is a really great book that seems to strike a chord in almost everybody at O'Shea that reads it. It's kind of required reading at O'Shea. Other books that are very, I would say that are, I don't want to undersell them, but they are quick reads, but they're very impactful. Are two books on sort of conversations and conversations worth having by Jackie Stavros and Sherry Torres. That's a great one. And then one of my favorites of all time is Humble Inquiry by Edgar Schein. Those are two books that are fantastic and also books that we have shared around O'Shea pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
What about for change? Because I was really interested in that, where you can, I'm not saying we're profiling people, but where you can start to notice methods to help people to deal with change. Was there a specific reference for that?
Well, are you talking about behavioral change here?
Well, so
Organizational change.
maybe I picked it up wrong, but I thought what I heard was that there are some who will embrace change pretty quickly, and there are some who are less comfortable with it, not because of any evil intent or anything like that, and that you all help them navigate that. And immediately my mind was perked. Most of the people that listen to this podcast or I work with are attempting to change. And there are folks that really have a difficult time with it. And instead of getting frustrated and angry, I would love to pivot in a direction of, wow, is there a way to help folks that aren't used to it, right? Because it's probably just human nature. So if there isn't a book, totally good. I was just really intrigued by that comment.
Yeah, and it is part of a training and development program that we use, and so much of these different tools that we use and development avenues that we travel are very much focused on embracing change and how do I need to spot what are my Achilles heels, if you will. For example, with leadership development, we use the Leadership Circle 360. So in that, there are 12 core competencies, leadership competencies that in that 360, it's purely a development tool. Okay, we're not using this as a performance tool. So someone who is going to experience that, we're helping them to develop their leadership core competencies. So in that, it assesses them on the 12 core leadership competencies, gives them a baseline of where they are. And then through the coaching process, we help them to identify what are their Achilles heels, what are their default behaviors. And in the development journey for leaders, as you know, Jason, for an individual contributor, it's a big transition for them to move into a leadership role. And that really it takes time and it takes practice and helping them to let go of, as just what you're seeing in the field, right? In terms of the superintendent 2.0, in terms of leader standard work and how are they identifying, organizing their day, and how are they delegating, all those kinds of things that are so scary for folks, because they know, well, if I do this, I've got something to show for it at the end of the day. And so in terms of the change transition, that's one tool that we use, but there's no silver bullet for change. I mean, human changes and organizational change requires multiple processes and systems and whole teams development and those kinds of things.
I like that. So I was kind of giggling over here to myself. So if anybody listening to the podcast wants to learn about change, then you're welcome to submit an application to work for O'Shea Builders and go over there and work with the team. All right, so maybe my go-to will still be mindset. I just love that book. Josh, did you have anything in reference to that? To our comment?
Well, John Kotter is really well published in the change space. People follow what John Kotter says when it comes to change, Kotter. Any of those books, anything that he's written would get you on that path. And Tess has said it before, and we've heard it before too. You want the tools to be the silver bullet, but it really comes with a whole systems approach. Whether it's got to be the culture, it's got to be the right people, and it's got to be the right support. So all of these things go into just having the knowledge around change, and we've spent many hours developing what works for us. But it's through trial and error, and our ability to be continuously improving and learning from our mistakes is what's helped us understand how change works and how people actually work through change.
Oh, I like that. So I just typed it in. So he has our iceberg is melting, leading change. And then that's not how we do it here. And then another book that just came to my mind is Who Moved My Cheese. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. So there aren't silver bullets. I know that a lot of the folks that listen to podcasts do love books, so I appreciate that reference.
And did you mention Carol Dweck's book, Mindset? Is that what you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that book.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have to rein me back in because I feel like I'm starting to funnel almost all eternal truth towards into that book. Like I'm starting to see less patterns other places that I used to think and more patterns in the growth and fixed mindset. And I'm just becoming fanatical about it. So I love her work. Anyway, so I would love to do this is to give both of you an opportunity to offer a challenge or advice, knowing that the people, the thousands of people that are on the other side of this podcast, great people, we love them. We can say that without any flattery or insincerity at all, right? We do this because we all love it. What would be kind of a closing comment as folks go out there and really attempt to profit from the things that you're sharing here? So any one of you can start, but I'd love to leave everyone with a challenge or a closing thought.
So I think probably my comment would be that this is an iterative process, and it can be really easy to fall into the trap of, we're just going to do this. We're just going to do personality profiles, and everybody's going to work more effectively together. And it doesn't work that way. It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle. And that ability to be patient and to celebrate the little victories, it's like, okay, we are seeing some improvement here because we're having better collaboration, we're having better communication. And it is absolutely, I know it's cliche, but it's a journey. And making that journey fun and embracing the opportunities to step into what the organization is fully capable of by trying out little things, testing little things, and finding other organizations that are doing things well and learning from them as we have done. Also, we've learned from other organizations as well.
That's fantastic. That also helps us to increase our hope, meaning it's not going to be an overnight thing. One thing that they said is that O'Shea is a overnight success, 15 years in the making.
Absolutely, yes. It's a journey, and and it all starts at the top. When you have a visionary leader and they know where they want to take the organization, then everybody can wrap their minds, hearts, and souls around that.
I love it. All right, Josh, are you ready to follow that?
Yeah, I'll jump right on that idea that Tess was starting with, and not declaring victory too soon. It is a journey, and it's a journey. You have to tell yourself that change and continuous improvement is a journey that never ends. So as long as you have the 2 P's that I talk about, and that's persistence and patience. Whenever you're implementing a change, you have to be persistent, and you have to have a helping of patience that never goes away. And so those 2 things will get you through a lot, because the continuous improvement is that it's continuous and it's improvement. And so as long as you're moving forward and upward, you're going to be just fine.
Awesome. Well, we have a little bit of a tradition on the show. I'm going to count to 3, and at the end of 3, I'd love for y'all to say "on we go." And so, real quick, I don't know if I ever explained that to the podcast audience after 457, but I love "on we go." A project executive once said that to me after we were dealing with something that was hard, but he dealt with it kind of like you're talking about in a very positive, safe way. And at the end of it, he could see that I was a little bit troubled, and we had a plan. He was like, "All right, Schroeder, on we go." And it was such a simple phrase, and it communicated to me a couple of things. And this is just what it meant to me, but we're moving forward, not backwards. We're going to work together as a team, and we are going to win, right? We're going to win. And so when you talk about this, that that you should have patience and persistence. It's a continual process. It's an iterative process, right? I think that ties perfectly into that, like, on we go. If we didn't, whatever we did today, we can attack it and do better tomorrow. We can keep going and have that hope. So I love it. So I would love if on the count of 3, you'd say it with me. 1, 2, 3, on we go.
On we go.
Thanks, team.
Jason, thanks so much. It was a great time.
Absolutely.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.